Shabbat Shalom and welcome to our Erev Shabbat service. I'm Rabbi Javier Carapan and I am joined by Leslie, Carmen, Larry, Warren, and our technical team and our ushers. And that's it. So if you are watching us now, I know there's some competition out there with this streaming. Maybe you'll watch it later and so that you know what happens with the game. But in the meantime, we missed you. A big thank you to our BOW committee for bringing us beyond our walls. You couldn't watch us later, you know.
If it were
you
not
couldn't
for the
watch
BOW
the
committee,
recording
that's right.
were it not for our wonderful streaming team. For those of you joining us in person, we're calling the numbers in the square brackets. I'm sorry, I'm smiling because we're making this happen. That's right. Everybody who had to be here to make it happen is here.
We're making Shabbat. That is the verb,
that's
right?
Exactly.
To make Shabbat.
It's a new era.
It is.
It's a new era. I hope they win or won, depends on when you're watching us. You have Shabbat candles. We invite you to light them now. And on page 120, we continue with the blessings.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kirshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
We continue together in the middle of page 124. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. Page 130, together we join in Lechu Neradana, it's Psalm 95.
Lechu neranena, lechu
Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena Adonai. Naria, naria, letzur ishenu, nekadma fana betoda. Naria, naria, letzur ishenu, Mizmor Shir Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena Adonai. Service continues on page 138 with Lecha Dodi. We're singing together stanzas 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, all the odd number stanzas. Please join us.
Lecha
Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Nekavela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, פני שבת נקבלם.
שמוע וזכור בדיבור אחד, ישמיענו אל אחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ושמו תפארת ולתהילה
לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, קומי צאי מתוך אף אחד, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, להו יחמול עליכם לה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
התעוררי, התעוררי, גבעון לכוני אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. והיו למשיסה שוסייך, ורחקו כל מבלייך, יסיס עלייך אלוהייך, כמסוס חתן על כלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה.
בואי חלל, בואי חלל. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. We continue together on page 146 with Baruch Hu. Yada dai dai dai, 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 yada dai dai dai.
Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Yada dai dai dai, 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 yada dai dai dai.
Shema
Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod, Malchuto Leolam, Leolam Va'ed. And you shall love Adonai, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And all these words which I command you on this day shall be in your heart, shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and you shall speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and when you rise up, and you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be a symbol between your eyes, and you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and upon your gates, upon your gates, that you may remember and do all my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God. Continue together on page 158. כי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, אוסף פלא, אוסף פלא, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, סלי אנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. כי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, אוסף פלא, אוסף פלא, אוסף פלא. Page 160. בעמידנו שומרנו, לך the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Ashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, lehaviteinu shomreinu lechayim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Ashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, ve'haviteinu shomreinu ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. Anananananana Adonai. Ananananana שפתי תפתח. Ananananana הופיע גיד תהילתך. Ananananana Adonai. Ananananana שפתי תפתח. Ananananana הופיע גיד תהילתך.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasrevot v'Imahot, Umevir Gula Livnei Vnehem, Lema'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Zrat Sarah. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, מהשיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחלחל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, זועק נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל כנוחות ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. בטוב ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה, בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, נשיאים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, נשיאים לעולם. נשיאים לעולם. נשיאים לעולם. As we gather on this Shabbat, we now turn our thoughts to those in need of healing. You may have access to the Mishaberach list through the e-news. You can also follow the link in the comments. We invite you to offer names by typing them in the comments. For us here in the sanctuary, if you want to offer names, we ask you to say them out loud as we can go around the sanctuary. Thank you. On this side. Thank you. Here. As we think of those in need of healing, we offer special prayer for those suffering from addiction and mental health struggles. May the one who blessed our ancestors bring blessings of strength, compassion, and healing to those of us who suffer with the oppression of addiction, emotional distress, and mental suffering. Surround us with loving kindness, grace, and compassion, and spread over us a Sukkot Shalom, a shelter of peace. Return us to our holy dignity and restore us to wholeness of spirit, of body, and of mind. May the source of strength As we think of those in need of healing, we also turn our prayers to those who help in healing, first responders and health workers all over our city and the world during this pandemic. May those who care for the sick with their hands, their voices, and their hearts be blessed with courage and stamina. May those who pursue healing through medical skill and knowledge be blessed with insight, patience, and compassion. May all of us, the sick and the well together, find courage and hope. Bless those in need of healing with a full heart, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, It is time for our Simcha moment. You can share some Simchas online on the comments line, and those of you who are here in person can come and use the microphone. And I'd say don't congregate, but that won't be a problem today. Sorry, I had to say it. And you saved the Simcha moment. Thank you. Simcha moment, yes. Is Carol coming up, everybody?
for this large audience, and I hope
There are many are watching, yes.
there are plenty of you beyond the wall. I'm Carol, and I've been trying to figure out what my Simcha moment is, but I had a pretty good week, and I'm glad I'm here.
We're glad you made it.
I'd say the way the world is going lately, having a good week totally counts.
For today, I have a poem by Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt. It's called Clear, but I have to give it a little introduction because sometimes some of her poems are really clear.
Yes, and sometimes they're not.
Sometimes they're not. This one is called Clear, but it's not. So this week's Torah portion is Parashat Shmini, and in the Torah portion we find the very strange story of Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abihu, who come close to God, and they try to bring, the Torah says, a strange fire, and things don't go well for them, let's put it that way. God says no, and they're basically eaten up by fire. So it is quite the story. And the poem that Rabbi Barenblatt wrote comes from the verses right after the episode of Nadab and Abihu in the book of Leviticus chapter 10. And these are the words, "And Adonai spoke to Aaron, saying, drink no wine or other intoxicants, you and your sons, when you enter the tent of meeting, that you may not die." Perhaps that was the reason why Nadab and Abihu, they were inebriated of some kind, intoxicated. We don't know. The Torah doesn't say. But what Rabbi Barenblatt suggests is that God perhaps wants us to be wholly present, our minds undimmed, at least sometimes. I'm not going to pass any judgment about anything. So here is her poem, Clear, meaning clear-minded, I think. But I'll read it for you, and you have to make your own decisions. When you enter, be clear as a glassy lake, senses alert to every scent and sound. No wine shall cross your lips, no intoxicants, nothing. To loosen your limbs or slur your speech, God demands presence, not distraction, not the continuous partial attention you give everyone else. If you can't promise that, don't come. I think that's kind of, now I'm going to make a comment, harder and harder, when we have so many distractions. Yes. And I know some of you are watching us streaming, and I would say it's a challenge to be present. We invite you to be present when you watch us, but I know it's a challenge, and it would be for me.
Even being here sometimes is a challenge. We've got the beautiful changing of the scenery, and you catch things out of the corner of your eye. And
I think this is her interpretation from what happened in the Torah, but do come.
Yes. Yes. Come anyway.
And that will be our simcha. We now gather all our simchas that you have shared with us as we offer this prayer. Divine source of blessings, we thank you for everything that enriches our lives. We turn to you now with gratitude as we share the happiness of those who have marked their birthday, anniversary, good news, and accomplishments. Adonai, be with them now and always. May they be blessed with the strength to overcome sickness and sorrow, and with much health and happiness now and always, as we honor each one of you for the gifts that you bring to our sacred community. Together we join in song to mark this sacred occasion. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו בזמן הזה. ברוך אתה, אדוני אלוהינו, מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו בזמן הזה. Some of you may know that the month of March has been set aside to celebrate Women's History Month. And you may wonder, why do we need to designate a month to celebrate women's contributions to American society? Aren't we supposed to recognize everyone's contributions on a regular basis? Yes, but unfortunately, for too long, women have contributed in a great measure to make our communities what they are, yet rarely have their contributions been acknowledged on a commensurate scale. In the case of Jewish women, the situation is similar, and yet, of course, a bit different, as you would expect. But what lies at the heart of the disparity between real contributions and their recognition? At least two factors conspired against recognizing and celebrating the contribution of women to Jewish music. On the one hand, the male dominance of the field of music, and on the other, what we would call the patriarchal barriers in traditional Judaism. As we bring you this Mizmor Shir Shabbat, made even more meaningful by our wonderful musicians, I thought we should be more aware of Jewish women in music. In America, especially in the last century, women have successfully challenged the status quo and made invaluable contributions as performers, educators, scholars, composers, and clergy. Just last Shabbat, we marked the 100th anniversary of the first bat mitzvah, Judith Kaplan Eisenstein. But have you ever wondered what became of her? Yeah, Judith became an influential composer and educator. It is through music that Judith Kaplan made a tangible contribution to American Judaism. I mean, she was, 12. This was really her father's thing, so she went along, why not? But her own contribution is not to have started the bat mitzvah, that kind of happened to her, but to actually be a music educator. Of course, we could not speak about Jewish music in America without mentioning Debbie Friedman, who died in 2011. The Milken Archive of Jewish Music writes of her, quote, Debbie was a self-taught amateur from Minnesota who forever changed the course of Jewish music when she began strumming a guitar to Hebrew liturgical texts, end quote. She was self-taught because in the late 60s, there was no school for a Jewish young woman to study how to put liturgy to music. It was just not done. It was not until 1975 when the first woman, Barbara Herrmann, became an invested cantor. And remember, most of the music she would have been taught in cantorial school was composed by men. But perhaps what I'm saying right now, it might be the wrong approach. We should not value the work of women, Jewish or not, only when they fit our preconceived ideas. The first time that we said about a woman that she was a great composer because she wrote great music, we did so based on what a composer was until then, that is, a man. In other words, concentrating on composers and performers as the center of musical activity is a rather male-centered approach. In order to balance the past importance of male roles in Jewish music world, we should not merely list a few female Jewish composers and singers and call them great and said, we're done, we did it. Actually, the Encyclopedia of Jewish Women puts it this way, quote, one should emphasize American Jewish women's multivalent musical choices rather than narratives of quote-unquote emergence into male-coded American Jewish music spaces. In doing so, it acknowledges that mainstream Jewish liturgical, educational, art, and popular music histories often exclude or minimize women's participation, emphasizing famous cantors, composers, and performers, for example, while largely ignoring the many women who served as choir directors, organists, choristers, and local musicians in small and medium-sized communities. Jewish women made significant contributions to Jewish music before there ever was a woman whom we call a great composer or an influential singer. So perhaps I should correct something I said before when I called Cantor Herman the first female cantor. Before the cantorial schools dominated by men agreed under pressure to admit female students, congregations had already begun to appoint women to musical leadership positions, although rarely with clerical titles. In other words, they did the job of men, but they did not get the recognition. Basically, nobody would think of them as the influential Jewish musicians that they really were. For instance, in 1955, Temple Avodah in Oceanside, New York, appointed Betty Robbins to the position of quote-unquote cantor. The Jewish press at that time described Robbins as the first woman congregational cantor. Historians know, however, that other women held similar responsibilities without the formal title way before 1955. All the female musicians who enriched our congregations for centuries did it in a different way than male musicians, but we value and celebrate their contributions as much. Sometimes I think we give ourselves too much of a pat on the back for having women in leadership positions in our congregations. We need to admit that that by itself is not enough. In order to truly celebrate the contributions of women to our communities, we must celebrate the unknown and recognize women. We need to remember the anonymous mothers and daughters who for centuries have created, nurtured, and led our Jewish music from Miriam until this very day. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We did have some great composers today, all of them. I'm not going to say they were male or female. They were great composers, all of them. We joined together in Aleinu Leshabeach on page 586. If you are able, please stand and join us. Did I go too fast?
Aleinu Leshabeach Ladon HaKol לתת גדולה לעוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ונאמר והיה אדוני ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. As we prepare for our moment of remembrance, I invite you to turn to page 595. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways that we remember. As a congregation, we are observing the Shiva period for Lloyd Hellman, husband of Judy Hellman, father and father-in-law of Rick and Teresa Hellman, and brother-in-law of Marcia and Larry Rittmaster. We are observing the Shloshim period for Kevin Casey Eichler, brother and brother-in-law of Kelly and Jim Kaplan. And on this Shabbat, we remember the following yortzites of members of our congregation: Harold Bram, Marjorie Cohn, Mary Adelia Dees, Edward Duchek, Joseph Keifetz, Ida Jenny Levin, Max Levinson, David Moskowitz, Paul Meyer, Marlene Shapiro, Charles Siegel, Hannah Steinzik, Harriet Swade, Stephen Thompson. Zichronam livracha, may the memories be for a blessing. Continue with Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, on page 598. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמה דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון ובימיכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך ללם וללמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תוש בחתה ונחמתה, דא אמירם בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
Time for some announcements. Special thank you to our wonderful music team for Mizmor Shir Shabbat, Leslie, Carmen, Warren, and Larry, and to our Shalom Squad who welcome us to Beth Torah, Richard Stanrich, Ron Zipper, and Paula Freemerman, and also to our wonderful team of Beyond Our Walls that included Dave Zucker and Peter Pizer. Our Shabbat celebration will continue tomorrow morning with multi-access Sichat Shabbat. It's our Shabbat conversations at 9 a.m. And that follows at 10:30 with our Shabbat morning service when Dorian Pat Rappaport will become a B'nai Mitzvah. Everybody is welcome to join for that Simcha.
This next announcement made me feel lightheaded. Passover is in 3 weeks, folks. 3 weeks. First night of Passover, which is our congregational Seder, is Friday, April 15th. We will not be having services that night like this. We will be having a Seder in the Ulam. It is multi-access, so please refer to the website and your e-news for details about joining us physically at Beth Torah, and also, of course, you can watch it on our virtual platforms. In addition to the Seder, we have many, many opportunities to gather throughout Passover, including worship services, a Passover-themed song session, and matzah pizza cooking class. Again, refer to your website or the e-news for all of this information.
We'll savor before Pesach many Chometz products, so please join us in the Ulam for Tugoneg after the closing song. Special thank you to Lloyd Hellman's nephews and their families for sponsoring the Tugoneg in love and memory of their uncle Lloyd. We conclude our time together. If you would like to open the Siddur on page 645, but if you're here, you can also just look at our screen and join us for Shir Chadash. If you're able, please stand and sing with us. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru l'Adonai Shir Chadash.
Again.
Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru l'Adonai Shir Chadash. Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and with all sing out all the earth a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru l'Adonai Shir Chadash. I will sing unto God a new song. Shabbat Shalom.
Take care of each other out there.